for someone who's such an eloquent speaker and who speaks so beautifully, it's such a shame right now that we can't hear you.
Sharon, we're back. We're trying to get another internet connection if we can to see if we can stabilize this. But just in a quick bit, I'd like to put in that I love the idea of how Connected Women Pakistan thought it was utmost essential to work on thriving, Sharon, because it's time. And when it says thrive, I feel thrive and collaboration and coming together are synonyms for me, for a person like me. So I feel that's the exact vibe that I've gotten. Yep, Sharon. Can you hear me, buddy?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect.
So are you all set now?
I can. Just give me a bit if I can ask to see if we're changing the internet.
Okay. So how about meanwhile, I bring in Joanne. I am so sorry, guys, for all of this glitches and back and forth issues. But as amazing as technology is, it can be a little upsetting at times, and so we have to make do with that. It's okay. So yes, Zohra will have an amazing fireside chat on financial independence and inclusion for women. And for that, we have on board Joanne Flinn from Singapore. I am going to bring her in. Joanne draws on her extensive experience in business growth. She is the founder of Unicorning, and she draws on her extensive experience of business growth and transformation in the corporate world and startup worlds, and a passion for people to enable organizations to bridge the purpose-profit gap. Twice a TEDx speaker, she co-founded the Change Leaders with the University of Oxford and HEC Paris. She's the author of 5 books on change, governance, and risk management. And as an artist, she's exhibited on 4 continents. Welcome, Joanne. So happy to have you here today. Thank you so much for taking out the time for us.
Salam alaikum. It's an absolute honor and privilege to be here with you all and to know that in this wonderful week of International Women's Day, I love the fact that we've gone past today, that we get to support each other around the world to make a better future.
Walaikum assalam, the salam. The way you said it, it's so beautiful. It sounded so good to my ears. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for being a part of Thrive. So what are your views about this entire 3-day leadership summit for women?
Okay, I'm going to be very transparent and declare one of my biases. I think women are fabulous. I think women have the ability to do anything they wish to do. I remember growing up and seeing all the powerful Pakistani women that were in the environment around me. My father was a research scientist, and so we lived on research stations in several parts of the world, and he used to travel regularly to Pakistan for work. And what struck me was the power and intensity that women have in Pakistan and the ability that each and every one of you have to create the world you truly want to. And when we were talking about this particular topic in finance, which is one of those ones some people are a little bit sensitive about.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to ask people to relax on the sensitivity and be here in the place of appreciation that finance is a form of energy. Money is a form of energy that gives us capacity to do things in the world, to do things for ourselves, to do things for our family, to do things for other people. And when we see it that way, it becomes a tool that's creating something rather than something to fear or be ashamed of, because we each learn how to deal with it at different times and places in our lives. So I think it's a wonderful thing that you put it squarely on the topic and actually have devoted an entire day of your agenda to this.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you on that. And so what are your views on inclusion for women in workplaces? And we have that this hashtag going on, choose to challenge, and it's about inclusivity in workplace cultures. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's a politically correct view, and here's probably a very pragmatic view, because I'm aware we've got a range of women listening and part of this today. The largest number of people in the world who create new businesses is women. And I say this because if we're sitting there waiting for somebody else to give us permission and open the door, it's slow. And I say this if I think back over my career, I moved forward because men helped open the door. In my career, there were so many times I was the first woman into the role. And I got there because of, genuine of male support. So I'm saying this not to express frustration or anger with men, but to appreciate that, when we choose to play a game that's on their terms, we're playing on their field, we're on their sports field. When we create our own businesses, we create our own sports field. We create our own home and kitchen and cooking rules that then allow other women to come in and to grow and develop. And so for everybody here who's in the entrepreneurial space or a business owner space or a team lead or a manager and executive in an organization, we each have this power to create spaces for other women to step in and come into, which I think is a tremendous, tremendous gift. Personally, I think gone are the days that women should be destined to only have the choice of being at the home. And in my culture, it's not. It's a new thing too. My mother's choices when she finished school was to get married, be a librarian, or be a teacher, or a nurse. That was it. Those were the career options.
Yeah.
And then if you got married, you were expected to stop working, which also means that for many women of my mother's generation, financial independence was a very unusual thing.
Yeah.
So you think about it, it's a new concept, women being financially independent, and yet we're equally capable, equally powerful in this place when we choose to go and do it. And sometimes that'll, when Zohra and I were chatting about things that we might talk about, one of the elements she spoke about, she said, well, what about inclusion of like women's inclusion in the banking system? I'm going, awesome. Yes, absolutely. For two reasons. When we have a bank account, it means we have a place to hold our wealth that's within our control and not somebody else's. And that's a very powerful place. It means we own it, which is scary at one level, exciting at another. I think Zohra's back. Awesome.
Yes, we have Zohra back with us. Welcome back, buddy.
I'm sorry. I'm so happy to see you, Joanne. Thank you so much for having us and joining us. And you seem like family. Why, I'll tell you. 1, we're women. 2, we're powerful. 3, we speak about the same affinities. I'm so happy to listen to you. Please continue your conversation. And I'm adding.
We're here for a fireside chat. I'm afraid I'm in Singapore. It's a bit hot for a fire. But I have an aircon, so I'm getting an aircon chat.
it was scheduled to be between Joanne and Zohra, so I'll go backstage for now, and you guys can have a lovely fireside chat.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much. Hi, thank you so much again. It's a pleasure. And I will say that again and again because I feel gratitude. I feel gratitude in all honesty. Why? Because when women connect all across the globe, is this the fire we're looking at? So I feel fabulous. Thank you so much, Joanne. And with the profile that I had the time to go through, and I'm sure it has had with it in the background a lot of hard work as you were just speaking. But when you speak about your mom, that seems as if you were speaking about my mom. That just goes to show how we are together with the same kind of background, kind of like the same values. How do you feel about that, Joanne?
Well, I think we're probably, people are more united in their commonality than they are in the differences. I mean, there's a bit of a habit. It creates drama to talk about our differences.
I'm sorry.
But if we want to create a better world and a place where we each have more capacity to contribute, seeing our commonality and our connections is a much more effective and powerful way to do it.
Wow, beautiful. And when I was hearing you speak and when I was hearing you say that you feel and you felt that the women from Pakistan have been strong in character or been that dynamic that you remember them from those days on when your dad used to come down. I mean, that's something I tell you will be music to the women hearing this today. And I'll tell you why as well. Why? Because with the facet that we have with the economic condition of the country, this is something most women in Pakistan, Joanne, don't really relate to. They feel because of the third world sentiment that is so strongly inbuilt, because of culture, because of certain circumstances outside, that hearing this from you is definitely a compliment. But as I said, from everything that you know, that I read about you, that I know you as an expert, of that little bit that I've been able to do justice, and I'll try to do as much justice, Joanne, today, would be the fact that I realized that when it comes to inclusion, and when we are speaking about inclusion of women in society today in Pakistan, we've seen the financial sector really working hard this past year, where they have set up some medium-term goals saying, okay, as the state bank, as the government's bank, we'll try and push these women into the banking essentials. I would want you, my dear, to shed some light on the fact of how important it is for us as a woman to truly own the wealth, as you said, whilst you were speaking and I was backstage. Could you please shed some light there, Joanne? Over to you.
Okay, so this is between us women, look, okay? So just between us rather than, you know, out there. The thing is, this I'm going to say this, and this is no way disrespecting whatsoever our fathers, our brothers, you know, the men in our life who are here, you know, who love and care for us. So what I'm about to say is in no way disrespecting that. But one of the biggest gifts my father gave to me was the encouragement to learn and understand how to manage money and own my own financial life.
Wow.
Because it gave me it. At the time, I'll be honest, you know, I was a kid. I didn't appreciate it. I'm like, whoa. But now I appreciate what it did. And I suspect it's compounded its effect in my career is because I learned and had some basics early on. And even things like I had my own bank account and I was encouraged to put a little bit aside out of my pocket money or the things that, you know, when I had a little bit of money coming into it. You know, I was encouraged to learn the language of money. So it was something I was comfortable with rather than scared of. Wow. So, I mean, a lot of it was the learning piece. So then I didn't run away. And then what it meant was that I was comfortable when I started working to talk about money. So I was comfortable to have a conversation about what my salary would be. I was comfortable choosing, you know what? This is what's important to me, and I'm going to work out how to do it financially and not having to go and say, please, somebody else. Okay. You know, I hope that none of us at our age are groveling like that. But, you know, inside sometimes we are, right? But when we've got when we choose to build, and like the thing is, you don't have to go for financial independence overnight, but you can choose to say, I'm going to take this year is going to be the year of learning the language and the basic tools. And then next year, my goal is to, put a certain amount aside, in the same way that will contribute to, our church or religion to support God. We could also do the same thing to support ourselves on this earth so that we can create space and do good.
That's beautiful. I mean, that does just also add so much to the thought. And just one quick bit. Also, when you said, and was resonating with me, yes, being a Kuwaiti born living abroad, I have been back in Pakistan for a reason for so many years. And when I heard you say women having the ownership to believe the fact that they own a certain wealth that they have of their own is something that is quite not appreciated a lot in Pakistan. Yes, because the men are people who are supposed to be in charge. So when we say in charge, we tend to know that these are people who are going to be managing the finance, etc., etc. So yeah, so I feel the women who would be listening in today and later also should understand the fact of how it is very important. Now, when we say inclusion, how important, Joanne, do you feel that when we're educating our girls for, say, we run a women empowerment program, and then we feel that the financial element where we create that affinity with these girls, where we educate them, is not there. How do you feel about such a program? Do you think that program would do justice in any sense of the word to the word women empowerment? Or do you feel it's a miss altogether?
Okay, so here's the thing. I think you may have heard my earlier comment is money is energy. Financial empowerment's energy. When we don't have that empowerment, we're chained by somebody else. We're chained by their needs and definitions. And that's a really strong phrase to use, but it's also the reality. So there's a kind of I've run a program called Money and Meaning for a number of years, and it's quite often a significant number of women in the room, because I think we're wanting to have both, which is why in business, when I'm working with business, I call it profit and purpose, but with us, it's money and meaning, And the thing is, if we're empowered in our spirit, but we're not empowered in our financial space, our spirit and desires can only go so far.
Yes.
And then we're kind of trapped and caught in this piece. So to not gain that strength and that understanding, and just build bit by bit, it's to miss out on the fullness of who you can be. So I think if you're including both elements in programs, I think it's an incredibly wise and insightful thing.
Superb. Thank you so much for giving your insight on that. Now, if I would just want to speak about, because there are a lot of women on this platform in Pakistan with Connected Women, Joanne, where we know that these are fresh entrepreneurs, where these women are setting up home businesses and other businesses. And when the fact comes in, when there's somebody saying, okay, so how much money did you actually make in the first 6 months of inception? And that's when we see that blue pale face and goes up and you go blank. Now, what do you suggest can be a few tips for women who are just starting, or even so more up on the curve, that journey where having the fact that finance has some importance, has significance, we have to make money. But what are some tips that you feel women from this part of the world can latch on to make sure they might thrive and not just survive on the curve?
Okay, so I'm going to split this into two parts. The first one is that one of the stories that doesn't get told a lot, and this data, I'd be interested in the data for Pakistan, but this data is true in the US, in Australia, and quite a lot of parts of Southeast Asia. So it may also be true in your environment, is most small businesses are started by women. most small businesses only have enough funds to last 6 months. And to make a profit, to actually get to the point you've got enough repeat customers, because getting a customer takes a lot of time and energy. Getting your product and service together takes a lot of time and energy. Getting your infrastructure and your team together, all these take time and energy. So you want it to be able to last long enough so it can actually, to get to the point you actually could have, costs, previous investment, revenue, and revenue's over. There's profit. And it's all, it's like okay, it's like this, because until you get that, and this thing is the revenue, the cost, revenue slowly growing, revenue slowly growing, and then eventually you hit the point where you go, oh, here it is, it's on par, but we're not at profit yet. And the thing is that there's a lot, and it depends a bit on your capital intensity. So there are some factors in that to take into account on that one. But in many environments, it's 2 years to get to break even. And if you're in a franchise, it takes 5 years because of just the sheer licensing costs and the free cash flow you've got. And so I share this data, sorry, because I do like my data.
No, thank you so much for sharing.
But then then women don't judge yourself. If you're at the 6 month mark and you're struggling, you go, yeah, this is the journey. This is the journey.
Beautiful. Wow. Thank you so much for the confidence, because it brings back a lot of confidence back in me, and when it's the spot that you're in, and also specifically why, because you are a finance expert and I am not, but you know how economies post-COVID struggling, and then with Pakistan, with the struggles that we've had in turn with the government and ministries that we've had internally, it has affected us quite a lot intrinsically. And let alone when the government says to us that, you guys need to open up your brains to the fact that the economic numbers internationally are better, intrinsically, people are still struggling, which means women are struggling in terms of putting their businesses or even serving an institution or a multinational corporation with a sustained, amount of performance and everything else. Now, as you mentioned once, that can you share something in a snippet? I know this is really it's a vague question. I'm sorry if I sound that way or crazy, but I would want to know, my dear, if there's something that we can keep as a grid, which is a structured grid, a platform for us today, a takeaway from Joanne, something for Pakistani women post-COVID, yes, wanting to thrive and not just survive meagerly. What do we do for this financial independence? Yes, one, you talk about it. For this fact where we're able to establish ourselves, saying, okay, fine, I know my journey. Thank you very much. I need your support, but not that much. How do we do that, Joanne?
So I'll give you a three-part structure. Okay.
Great.
And I'll use sort of hand motions. The first one here is for yourself, and then if you're a business owner, this works for you. As an individual, this works for you. But one of the things is we are likely to be dealing with economic for a while. Just I wish we'd be going back to days like that, but I know. But it may be like this for a while. So given that is just possible, entirely possible. I hate being stressed about money. It's just that thing of like, can I go and pay my team? When's it coming in? It's not a pleasant place to be in, whether it's for your business or your home. So one of the very pragmatic things that I actually learned during the Asian financial crisis when I was running a business for PricewaterhouseCoopers. So, this is like, even in the big blue chips, this was practical. As I got really clear, what I called was, what's my keep my lights on cash? Like, and that was, for those of you that are in startup world, minimum viable product. Like, what's the keep the lights on, and be as lean and slender as you can on that one.
Super. Wow.
Because because see, the thing is, once you've got that dealt with, you can tell the mind, your fear mind, to like quieten down. Shh, you've got that dealt with for the month.
Oh, I've got you covered.
Yeah, it is like, but what you want to do is not be grand about it. You just want to be like, really keep the lights on, keep it simple, keep it super simple. This takes discipline, ladies, because we all love glorious stuff. So
I know.
It's just like, we can be friends with each other and just go like, it is the thing to watch. And then the other one, and that you like this big box out there, you go, okay, if I want to transform and create, the true independence, what are the things I need to be doing there? Now that could be transforming your business. So you say it's ready for where things may be in 2 years. That may be saying, I'm going to be deliberately investing a certain amount every month. First, my first commitment is I pay my piece to God. I pay my piece to my future. And that's your transform money. That's your transform money in time. And then you'll have hopefully you have and then if you cover those two pieces, awesome, right? Because you kind of go like, my present is taken care of. Maybe simple, but it's taken care of. My future is being created. Yay. And then if you're in a financial position, there's a gap, there's more money that's coming in than that. You go, awesome, I've got extra things I can do to grow.
Wow. When you speak, you make it so much more nicer for me as a woman to hear you to say, probably tell myself, this is something I can do. I would want to appreciate this, Joanne, because having all of this experience and all of the knowledge, but then with somebody who wouldn't be able to put this out to a normal person, I feel that it loses the stance. But with you, thank you so much, because you've been so simplistic. I feel the affinity of what you say, that we move step by step, but yes, with an eye of where we are on our financial and future. If I'm recapping it well, am I?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because the thing is that it's so easy to get lost in either a very, very big picture or the overwhelm of today things. And so when you keep those two parts as being visible, you go, okay, I've got my day-to-day sorted. Again, it helps if you keep it slender. Okay, now I have space to go and do the transform. I'm also looking after that piece. It's a bit like when you walk, we're never, when we're walking, we're never balanced, right? We're always moving between our 2 feet, but we manage to stay upright.
You were right about asking women to be organized and disciplined, because I know myself, and we can latch on to actually every little thing that we get our hands to. So I completely adhere when you say you've got to be disciplined when we're trying to move on. But then again, just one last thing before we move towards wrapping this up, Joanne, would be, I know as an entrepreneur, after a service of about 22 years, something knocked sense into me and said, okay, Zohra, maybe you could just go on and do something on your own. And so I did. So now 4 years later, I still have my husband grinning at me sometimes, asking me, well, how much do you think you've made in this past year with all of you running around this entire country, traveling here, there, going for guest appearances? And there's sometimes myself where I just want to say, stay out of this, because this is my own thing. Let me just, breathe on my own. Now, but this is a continuous attitude that we have, that we women have to face, Joanne, whether it might be our family in terms of men. Then again, not disrespecting, these men are the men who have made me independent enough and capable enough to be here today, representing women from Pakistan. So I appreciate my in-laws and my family support that I have. But then yet again, coming to the fact that these women, when we're out in the open with other men that come from different houses, different homes, different spaces. Now, when you speak about behavior and attitude, it's super. But then again, is there something, before we wrap up, that you want to give us, women, as a shout out saying, Pakistani women, get your socks up, and this is it? What do you think that would be, really?
Oh, okay, so you guys like, what's the rallying cry? Okay, so Pakistani woman. Mohenjo-Daro was not built in a day. Okay, one of the greatest ancient civilizations of the world, still standing, still able to go visit. I look forward to being able to visit again. Was not built in a day. It was built brick by brick.
Yep.
Into the magnificence that existed back then. And this is the truth. So when people go, oh, so how much are you making? A, that's just a little bit rude. B, the real practical thing is people look at Google now or Apple, just to use like, you know, super big international brands. They forget that, you know, it started off in a garage. It takes 10 years to get any business to any real size. So if you're investing, you know, it takes 10 years. Ups and downs, you know, definitely ups and downs, because the economic cycle will do it. And so when someone says that, you just sort of go, I just make a comment and I say, yes, you know, I'm on my 10-year journey to overnight success.
Oh, I'm gonna keep that here. Thank you so much for that one.
Do. Because the thing is, if you're investing your time in building relationships and building connections and building understanding, highly successful businesses, I did a set of research and analytics a couple of years ago about what capital is the necessary capital for businesses to really thrive over time. And the most important one that actually is even more important than cash, it's relationships and trust.
Whoa, that's such a big sigh of relief coming from an expert like you, Joanne. It truly is. That's like a breather for me. Truly. And I'm sure for all women here in Pakistan. Thank you so much. Although as much as I don't want to really close the chat, but I would want to invite you to Pakistan, Joanne, if you can, whenever you feel. Because you are in Asia, in South Asia, we are not that far away from Singapore. You have family here, my friend. And so you have all of these women now who would be so happy to have you, probably meet you in person, have you come to workshops with us in Pakistan via the Connected Women Pakistan platform. So yeah, so you're always going to be welcome. You will always have so many homes to visit when you come to Pakistan. That's our giveaway. Thank you so much for your time and your precious time and resource also for making sure that it becomes much simpler for us to understand. Thank you. Much obliged, honor.
If I may just put an offer out to the women that are here as we wrap up. Sure. If you would like to look at where either your life or your business is in terms of its ability to generate profit that lasts, because with all the hard work you put into to create a business, because I know many women listening are entrepreneurs. If you go put into your Google search engine profit, PROFIT.scoreapp.com. Okay. There is a scorecard diagnostic that will help you get some insight into the key things that help your business keep moving and growing and transforming to get to the goal that you would like. And there's a report on it. So please feel free to do that one. And if you leave your email on it, that it means that the two of us can stay in contact. So thank you so much for having me here. And may you thrive in 2021.
Yes, may we do so together. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.